Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Name One Player podcast. My name is Nicole. I am your host, and I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person for hitting play today. I am so happy that you are here. If you are a returning listener, thank you for coming back. I'm flattered. And I'm so appreciative. Thank you. I absolutely love that you listened to whatever episode you listened to and you thought, I'm coming back. I'm coming back for this girl. Thank you. I don't know if you listened to the last episode with Lacey, the sports lawyer. If that was your first episode that you listened to, I get why you would be back. I do, because it was just such a good episode. But in all honesty, I feel like I feel like every one of my episodes is super good, and like not even in a egotistical kind of way. It literally has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with all of the incredible women that I have as guests on here. So whatever episode you did listen to, maybe it was all of them, maybe it was one, maybe it's two, who knows? Thank you so much for coming back. I am so happy that you are here. And if you are a new listener, welcome. Huge welcome to you. I'm also so happy that you are here. And I don't know how you found the Name One Player podcast. I really don't. Maybe it came across your TikTok, your Instagram, who knows? But I'm just so dang glad that you are listening today. The Name One Player podcast is a place for women to talk about the sports teams that they love without any fear of judgment, without any fear of being asked to name one player, without any fear of being made to prove that you know every single thing that there is to know, even if you don't know everything, to be made to prove like you know enough to be talking about sports. Because I think if you know the name of the sport, you can talk about the sport. Who cares? Who cares? I like to think that I do know a lot about sports, football in particular, but even if I didn't, who cares? Who cares? If I want to talk about something, I'm allowed to do it, okay? It's a free freaking country. Our guest today, Trinity, she has the exact same opinions here. She posts on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and she's talking about the sports teams that she loves. She mainly talks about football. She mainly talks about hockey. And that girl is making sports content so relatable for women. We're gonna get into why she loves the sports that she loves, but I think it is such a not necessarily unique perspective, but I think she's owning it in such a unique way. And I'm not gonna spoil it. You have to keep listening to figure out why she loves the sports teams that she loves. But I just think that, authenticity and just owning it is so important. You can love sports for a million and one different reasons. Maybe it's because you've been a fan forever and you grew up playing football and you've idolized this player since you were 2 years old. Like a lot of men who like football, maybe that's the case. And that's totally fine. But I don't think it's any less valid than me liking a sports team because there's a Lizzo song with the name of the sports team that I love, the Minnesota Vikings, in that song. That's why I picked them. And I just don't think it's any less valid, okay? So I think let's just hop into the episode with Trinity. I personally think it's an absolutely great episode, and I hope that you all love it. All right, everybody, without further ado, please welcome Trinity. All right, everybody, we have Trinity here with us. Trinity, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited for this episode today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I was just gonna say, I mean, I found you on TikTok, which I feel like I'm finding so many guests on TikTok, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to say like a huge thank you to you. Your like engagement, you're commenting on all of my posts. Like honestly, it feels like we've been, like friends for years with the way that,
Yes.
and not to shade any of my friends, but like you comment on my stuff more than they do.
I love your content. Of course I'm
Well,
gonna comment.
thank you. I appreciate it. But then, yeah, so
Of
you
course.
commented something, and then I was like, you know what? we just got to get you on the podcast sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
Let's just do it.
Mhm.
And
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you're here. Tell me a little bit
Thank
about
you.
yourself.
So I mainly talk about football and hockey. Those are my jam. I've been doing it or interested in it, I should say, for probably 4 years now. That's
Okay.
when at least I got into hockey and then later on football. Yeah, I do YouTube, I do TikTok, I do Instagram. I was going to school for sports journalism and then I took a little break, but we're going to go back very soon.
What inspired you to start posting on TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff about sports?
So actually, my sister, she posts F1 and Premier League content on her
Oh, I like
TikTok.
that. Okay.
Yes, we're a big sports family around here.
I love
Um,
that.
and I was kind of in a funk about what I wanted to do career wise. I knew that I absolutely love sports. I love talking about it. I just didn't know what I wanted to do or how to get into it because I wasn't in school. So
Mhm.
seeing her do that and be successful and it's awesome, she loves it. I was like, why don't I give it a shot and see where that takes me. I do it for myself because I love talking about it so much, but I have gained a community of people who I talk to outside of it, and I post for them. I make it a safe space for whoever is interested in learning about football or hockey.
Amazing. And I honestly think that's why I was drawn to your content as well, because I do feel like so many of the women who are posting about sports are doing it in such a similar way to myself and you. Just
Hmm.
just honestly wanting it to be a safe space for the girlies to just chat about
Right.
sports teams that they love.
Yeah.
So I came across your content and I love what you're posting. I think one, you're so funny, you're so relatable.
Thank you.
Of course. And you just make talking about sports really chill, relaxed.
That's my goal. Like, I want it to be a casual thing. It doesn't need to be so serious and like,
Exactly.
we have to get like exact points and it has to be exactly like this. Like, I just want
Yeah,
it to be fun, a fun environment for everyone to put in their input and to feel safe and comfortable.
totally. Well, I've said
Hmm.
this before too, and like football, I love it. It's like my number one passion
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I hate numbers. I failed math multiple times in high school, and
Yeah.
when I feel like sometimes women can get intimidated with loving sports, is that you might think that they need to know every single yardage, every single play,
Right.
every
Right.
single thing with the numbers, and
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I and I've said in previous episodes too, when I realized that like a lot of the people, men in particular, who are rattling off these numbers, they just
Hmm.
looked it up. Like it's not like they know it. It's not like they're born knowing it. Nobody is.
I'm in the same boat. Math is not my forte. I could never be an analyst, but like I've been following hockey for 4 years. I couldn't explain to you the stats if if I actually had to. Like
Yeah,
if it depended on my life, I could not do it. It makes absolutely no sense. And still with like a lot of the rules. That's why I try to be so chill about it with other people. Like you
yeah,
don't like you're right. You don't need to know all of these things. Just have fun and enjoy
yeah.
it and you learn from everybody.
100%. And something too that I always remind myself, like even with the rules too, these sports are quite technical, and a lot of the time there'll be that like little obscure rule that the coaches don't even know, or something was changed,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
commentators, like somebody's in their ear and be like, oh, actually no, that's not right. Like there's
Hmm.
not everybody knows everything, and
Right.
it's so nice to see how many women are out there kind of changing the narrative that like you don't need to know every single teeny tiny thing
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
order to be a fan.
And you're still cool. Like you're still everything's okay and cool still. Like you're not weird or you're not as knowledgeable because you don't know certain things.
Exactly. Okay, so when I reached out to you and I was like, hey, would you
Hmm.
want to come on for an episode? And I
Hmm.
had a little bit of an idea in mind, and we'll still stick to it. We'll talk a little bit about the NHL playoffs and talk about the football team that you like. But
Hmm.
I was creeping your TikTok and you posted kind of about like a rebrand. So,
Yeah.
Silly Girl and her silly sports. And I watched
Yes.
that video, and I'm not kidding. Trinity, everything you said in it, I was like, yes, 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 and just like
Thank you.
epitomizes like you said, like it's okay,
Hmm.
it's all chill, it's all
Hmm.
cool, like it's just
Yes.
casual, it's really
Yes.
nothing too deep. But the
Hmm.
thing that you touched on, which I just absolutely loved because he's my crush, was Joe Burrow. You were like,
Yes.
a lot of people, because you don't live in Cincinnati, do you?
Mm-mm, no.
No. Okay. So you kind of touched on how so many women just get grilled for this, of being like, well, you're
Right.
only a fan because this person is hot. And
Hmm.
you are a Bengals fan, and you touched
Hmm.
on the fact that a lot of people do say to you, oh, you're only a fan because Joe Burrow's hot. And you're like,
Right. And I'm like, okay,
okay,
yeah.
and
Your point.
and I absolutely love that because I've always thought, like, what do you want me to close my eyes? Like, what, like, Joe Burrow's hot.
Here's my thing. I see an attractive professional athlete. I'm
Yes.
gonna pay attention to them.
Yeah?
And then me paying attention to them makes me pay attention to plays,
Yeah.
how they work with their other teammates. So now I'm interested in Jamar Chase and their dynamic duo. Love them. They're
Yeah.
so cute and they're wonderful together. And same thing with hockey. This is how I got into hockey is I was
Okay.
watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. It was 2021 because that's when Montreal and Tampa Bay played,
Okay.
but it was the conference final. I don't remember who Montreal played. I think Tampa Bay played the Islanders. So actually,
Okay.
this is a little crazy, but Matt Barzell was actually my first hockey boyfriend. And then like they got out, so then I paid attention to Montreal because I saw Cole Caulfield and I said, "Yep, that's him. I want him." And my favorite NHL players are the short ones because they're really fast. And so
Okay.
watching him, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like you're just skating around and you're doing all of these wonderful things. So I was
Okay.
fascinated by that. Then I see the dynamic duo, him and Nick Suzuki. They are
Okay.
wonderful together. So then you start paying attention to that. And then you hear about Carey Price and how good of a goalie he is. And it was a huge deal back in 2021, them going to the Stanley Cup in general because they haven't gone since or they haven't won since 1993, so it was a huge deal. So it just goes into the other sports. I'm like, okay, I think they're cute, I'm going to pay attention to them. And then you get interested in everything else and then you learn how the games are played. It all goes into one.
I love that perspective because you know so much about hockey and football now. Even just everything that you said right there, I'm sure that
Mm-hmm.
there's Canadians fans who don't even know about the history and the last time that they won the cup. Like, and
Right.
that's okay, and that's
Yeah.
completely fine. Like we said, you don't need to know every single thing. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
problem is when men in particular really downplay, or really, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
They invalidate.
exactly validate. That's a perfect word. Thank you. Just because you came into it because the men are good looking. Like, why is that so bad?
And sue me, because then even if you don't mention attractiveness they're still going to say, oh, it's because you think one of them's attractive, isn't it? And I'm like,
Yeah,
wait, but I'm literally telling you I know what I'm talking about.
exactly.
Why would that have anything to do with that? No, I
And
totally get it.
it makes me laugh too because it's like you can barely see these people's faces during the game.
Yeah.
Like I can't see anything. Like thankfully,
Yeah.
again, I know what's going on and I can see the numbers quickly and I can just
Mhm.
know which player that is without seeing their names because that's
Mhm.
far away too. But
Right.
it again, I don't even know what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say again that Joe Burrow is so hot, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I when I first started, I don't deal with it as much anymore. Maybe like every now and then because I'm on social media, but in
Mhm.
person, say like I'm in school and I was talking about being interested in sports, I dealt with the same things. Like,
Yeah,
are you like, do you know what you're talking about? Oh, it's because you think this person's attractive. And it's like, I'm actually trying to learn from you people. That's why I'm reaching out. And that's what
yeah,
I try to put out on my social media as well, that I'm learning too. Like I'm learning with everybody else. So why can't you just like be nice about it? Like
mhm.
I still like have a hard time understanding that. But I
Yeah.
think it's because men feel, I'm gonna say it, they feel threatened that a woman would know something that is mainly for men. They don't like that a woman is succeeding in it or likes it or is passionate
Mhm.
about it. Just saying.
Well, I just wrote down jealousy and circled it for two reasons actually, because I've mentioned this in previous episodes before too, like, and we'll get to your name one player story,
Hmm.
but so
Hmm.
much of it does root from jealousy because women who are talking about sports, talking online about anything is hard, and you
Right.
get hate from that from whoever it may be, but
Hmm.
that's difficult in itself to go out on TikTok and just post yourself talking. That is hard to do. And then to
Hmm.
post about something that is more male dominated is just an extra layer of that difficulty. So I do think there are a lot of men who love sports and, maybe might have been fans of whatever sport for longer than we have, whatever it
Hmm.
may be, but they just don't have the balls, for lack of a better word, to come out and
Yeah.
do it. And that's too bad. Like, I hope one day
Yeah.
that they're able to do that if they truly want to do it. I hope that
Hmm.
they're able to find it within themselves to do that. But don't come shitting on me or you or any other
Right.
person who's doing it just because they're a little bit jealous. And then the
Right.
other thing about jealousy, though, about how you mentioned that, you would talk to people in person and then they would say, well, you just like him because he's hot.
Hmm.
And no secure man, like no man that I've ever met who loves himself, who has confidence in himself, just all that kind of vibe. No man has
Yeah.
ever told me that I only like football because of the players are hot. No man has
Right.
ever told me about any sport, F1, hockey. No,
Yes.
no man who's secure in himself has ever done that. Only the
Yes.
jealous men who
Yes.
feel the need to say that. I
I've
will
had
just
plenty of men say, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I'm so happy for you. Let's talk about it." And I love those men with every ounce of my being. They are my favorite people to talk to about sports because they're
absolutely.
so nice and open about it. They aren't mean and they help me. They help me learn and understand. But you're right, there are always going to be those very jealous guys
Yeah, yeah.
because eventually you get to the point where maybe it's because you know more than them. And then that's when they really feel threatened and they're like, oh, wait, I didn't know that. So then they get defensive.
But then on the other side of it, when you meet those guys who are like, oh my God, I didn't even know that. Like, I think you might know more about the Minnesota
Hmm.
Vikings, the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I think you might know more
Hmm.
than me. And I'm like, oh my God.
You're like,
Like,
of course I do.
tell me
Of
one more
course
time.
I do.
And there are a lot of those men who listen to this podcast. There's a lot of men who have reached out to me and been like, wow, it's so nice hearing this perspective. I've never thought about
Hmm.
this perspective before. So I really do think it's so important for men to be listening to women talking about sports and just
Right.
just hearing it from a different lens.
Right. Right. Definitely.
So then, are you excited for July when Quarterback season 2 comes out on Netflix?
Yeah, because I didn't even know this was a thing. And then I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to see him before like the season even starts. I like, there's a lot of like shows that I never knew about. So
Mhm.
I'm very, very excited. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what it's about. Is it just following quarterbacks and like their season and like what they go
Yeah,
through?
I feel like Netflix Sports does it so well. Right now they have quarterback and receiver out, but they pick three quarterbacks in the league to follow.
Hmm.
And so I imagine, at least with the previous seasons, they follow the season that has just happened. So it'll
Okay.
go all over Joe Burrow, I guess his injury, all that stuff, all the rehab
Okay.
coming back. I know it was a bit of a
Hmm.
tougher season for the Bengals, so they'll
I can't.
they'll hit on all that. They get into the
Yeah.
nitty gritty. Like, we're gonna get some
Okay.
up close, personal, um,
Perfect.
hopefully very vulnerable conversations with Joe Burrow, and I just
Joe,
can't.
we need it. Joe, we need to see that side of you.
And I think the other quarterbacks that they're following this season that's gonna come out are Jared Goff from the Lions, and
Hmm.
then Kirk Cousins, who's on the
Yes.
Falcons now, but he was on season 1 when he was a Minnesota Viking. So
Hmm.
it'll be interesting to see.
That'd
I'm
be a
excited.
nice little follow up. Hmm.
Yeah. So do you watch Face Off then?
No, I do not. I don't
You
watch
know,
like anything.
I've only seen an episode of it, but I will say it actually was quite good. I don't know if they have any Montreal episodes. I don't know. I think that one's on Prime, but I've been told that that one's a really good one to watch too.
Doesn't it follow Connor McDavid?
I know he has an episode in it for
Okay,
sure.
okay, okay.
The first episode I know was on Nylander, and it was good, but I
Hmm.
just, personally, I'm a little too ADHD for TV shows.
Me too. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, I'll probably watch it. I tried
Amazing.
watching. I don't remember what it's called, but it's on HBO Max, and it follows the four teams, the division. So last season
Okay.
they followed the Bengals and the Ravens and the Steelers and the Browns. So I
Okay.
watched a couple episodes of that. Don't remember what it's called,
Is
but
it
it
Hard
was
Knocks?
yes, yes, it's that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I watched a couple
So
episodes of that.
they more recently just started to follow like a whole division. Before it used to
Hmm.
just be like kind of like a shitty team. Like they would just follow the team that like didn't really do that well. But yeah, Hard Knocks is a good one. It's just nice to like get that kind
Hmm.
of different perspective instead of
Hmm.
just I feel like it's like an old school way of liking sports of just sitting down in front of your TV on Sunday because you just grew up in that city and that's all you
Hmm.
know and like maybe you played high school football or whatever and like those are the only people who are allowed to watch the sport, but it's not like
Hmm.
that anymore. We got
Yeah.
multiple reasons to be a fan, and I
Yes.
absolutely love that.
Yes. I had a hard time watching it because I watched it around the time of the playoffs. So I was like, oh, I already know what's happening. And that gives me anxiety. I'm like, oh, I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Bengals, they suffered a little bit. I know that the Browns suffered quite a lot. So I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't put myself through that. It will just make me sad all over again.
Well, you may have a bit of a tough time. Well, I guess the Bengals season, it was, well, no, it was pretty bad, I guess.
See, it like yeah, yeah, no, I can't even, there's nothing really to defend there. But yeah, and I don't know if it's going to get any better this season. There's a lot of drama going on with the
Yeah.
Bengals right now. Yeah.
Okay, so how are you feeling? I mean, I know we're in kind of a bit of a weird time. I know they're kind of
Hmm.
showing up to like some odd practices here and there, the optionals. But how are you feeling
Yeah.
going into I mean, September honestly is around the corner and I just can't
Mm,
freaking wait. But how are you
yeah,
feeling?
I'm excited obviously because I miss them. I miss football in general. But with their defense, I'm very scared because I don't know if you know what's going on, but with Trey Hendrickson, he might get traded because
Okay.
apparently the Bengals are not very well known for their contracts, good contracts. And so
Okay.
from my understanding, they basically last season promised Trey Hendrickson a contract if he played that season. And then this year would be when he got all the money. Still no
Right?
money has been seen. So he's like, hey guys, either you give me my money or I have to leave. So I
Or
understand. I
I'm
totally
walking.
100% understand. And then
Yeah.
there's the other part of it with Shamar Stewart and Demetrius Knight, I believe that's his name, the
Okay.
new rookies. They didn't sign any contracts yet because they believe they deserve way more than I think they're being given, which
Okay.
it bothers me. I don't get it. And so Shamar Stewart and I think the night guy, they both didn't do the mini camps. They didn't sign the contract for it, which I'm like, okay, like
Oh,
why are we
that's
beefing already? I don't want to
rude.
beef with people within my team.
Well, actually, I'm just gonna look this up really quickly because not to brag about the Minnesota Vikings, but I feel like I don't know what's going on there. It might be our coach Kevin O'Connell or like
Hmm.
we had kind of a pretty big shift. I think a few years ago we got a new head coach and a new general manager. And
Hmm.
ever since then, they're kind of younger too in like terms
Hmm.
of the NFL.
Right.
But like the culture there is good. Everybody wants
Hmm.
to be there. And
Yeah.
they have the Players Association's rankings of like
Hmm.
the letter grades and everything. And Minnesota is like A's across the board
Oh
of
my
like
gosh, that's
players
wonderful.
doing that. So I am
Hmm.
just kind of curious. I do think that is kind of a shift that's starting to happen of
Yeah.
people and like organizations, people being happy to be there just to be able to say that I play for this
Hmm.
organization and it's not even about the money anymore. It's just
Yeah.
about like the locker room culture. It's at
Right.
the end of the day, it's always about winning. Well, I do have it pulled up.
Oh
I
boy.
will say the Minnesota Vikings are number one. At least it's kind of it's split into different things like treatment of
Right.
families, food and dining area. So at least in
Okay.
treatment of families, Minnesota Vikings A plus, Cincinnati Bengals. F minus.
Oh my
How do
god.
you get an
Oh
F
my gosh.
minus?
Oh my,
And
when
then
you say like
food
families,
and dining area.
are you meaning the team's families, or are you meaning like the
Like the,
fans?
the players who are in on the team vote.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's really
Oh my god. Oh
Oh no,
no.
yeah, Bengals are dead last. They do have an A plus for locker room though, but like they're
Okay.
average. I do think there
Hmm.
honestly is going to be like a bigger shift. I feel like football for a really long time was just these like tough dudes and it's violent. You just win, like it doesn't matter, like
Yeah.
emotions, feelings, like mental health. We don't talk about any of that. Like you're
Right,
just here to
right.
play and you're just here to win. But I think that's not like it's 2025 now, guys. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
gotta get with the times.
Right.
And I feel like contract wise and like some players are still lacking with that a little bit and still just
Yeah.
wanting to get as much money as they possibly can,
Oh,
which I mean, you see
definitely.
how much money is in this when you do make it to the NFL. So like I
Hmm.
understand, you gotta fight for what you believe you're worth, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah. And I know my dad's a huge Seahawks fan. That's what I grew up watching was the
Okay.
Seahawks. So I know
Okay.
he's upset about DK Metcalf going to the Steelers because it's one of those things where DK Metcalf just wanted tons more money. That's all it
Yeah.
was. And
Yeah.
it's so disappointing because like for him, and I have like a couple of friends who are Seahawks fans too, and it feels
Okay.
like a family, like it feels like a little community. So when
Yeah.
one of them leaves, it's like, ugh, why? Like, why do
Yeah.
you have to? That's why
Yeah.
everyone was freaking out about T. Higgins and his contract because the three of them, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, are a huge deal within the Bengals. So if
Yeah.
he left,
I was
it would
gonna
have been bad.
say, without those three, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we talked about football a lot more than I was anticipating, but I absolutely love that. And I always
Hmm.
say too, like, oh, this isn't a Minnesota Vikings podcast, but I'm glad that we were able to talk about them a little bit.
Yeah.
But shifting into current events, it is
Hmm.
now 5:43 our
Hmm.
time. Let's just look at the Oilers score here.
Oh
They
boy.
started playing for, ooh, they are up 1-0. And there's
Okay.
still 6 minutes left in the first.
Okay. Okay.
So, NHL playoffs, how are you feeling? Okay.
I'm feeling okay. I would love to see the Oilers go again, but I
Okay.
would also love to not see Florida be there
I know,
again.
I know. I saw you say that in a recent video, but I mean, I'm kind of at the point where I mean, the Canucks are I'll root for a Canadian team when the Canucks aren't in the playoffs, but they're not often in the playoffs, and when
Yeah.
they do make it to the playoffs, they're not in there for too long. But I don't know. I don't love Edmonton all that much, but because they're the
Right.
Canadian team, the last one standing, and like with
Right.
everything that happened last season, I am definitely rooting for
Hmm.
the Oilers.
Hmm.
Between the Hurricanes and the Panthers, I could care less. I
No, that's what it
truly
is. Like,
don't care.
they're just teams that I don't follow really.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, okay, whatever happens, happens. But
yeah.
my hatred for the Kachuk brothers will always run deeper than hating any team. That's why in
Okay.
my first round prediction, I said I wanted Tampa Bay to win. And that's crazy coming from me because I hate Tampa Bay because they beat Montreal in the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Uh, but my hatred for the Kachuk brothers runs incredibly deep. So please,
So
whoever's listening, don't let Florida win.
I did a playoff preview episode with one of my good
Hmm.
friends, Rachel. We actually met in university,
Hmm.
and she loves the Kachuk brothers. And I was like, hey, look, I don't have a huge pulse on hockey, but I know people don't like them. I know people don't like
Yes.
them. And she's like, no, like deep down, like I swear. And apparently it was on Face Off that made her, maybe it was Matthew, I don't even remember the other
Hmm.
one's name, but she was like, no, they're softies. And then to being
Mm.
friends with the Hughes brothers, I think
Right.
maybe there was something there. But no, she loves them. She absolutely loves them.
Maybe I need to watch that because my feelings about them is they're just bullies. Like I all of the things that happened during the Four Nations, I was rooting for Canada
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm not doing this with them. And it came out that it was Brady who was like, yeah, we're gonna
Crazy.
beat them up in the first like couple of seconds. Like they're planning beating people up. And
Yeah.
Matthew, the guy on the Panthers, he tends to, what people are starting to pick up is that he goes after people who don't fight or are the smaller guys. So people don't like that because
Oh,
it just looks like he's picking on them.
yeah.
He's just picking people that aren't looking for fights.
Yeah, I
So
don't like that. And it's like
yeah,
obviously hockey's aggressive and like don't get me
right,
wrong, I love a hockey fight, especially when
right,
I'm there in person. It's electric.
right,
But
right.
I just think it's yeah, if you're going for the little guys or the ones that you know don't
Hmm.
like to fight or won't fight, it's like why? Why
Yeah,
don't you go fight someone who's gonna fight you? Like if you really
yeah,
want to fight, like
exactly, exactly. And it was a huge deal when they were playing the Leafs because he kept going after Mitch Marner. Marner wanted nothing to do with him, literally
yeah.
avoided him at all costs. And Kachuk was like, I'm coming for you. And everyone's like, why? Like, leave him alone. He doesn't want to fight you. Fight the guys that do want to fight you.
Yeah, why don't you focus on winning the game, playing
Right,
well, instead
right.
of fighting? And I don't think they're fighting to injure players. I don't necessarily think that's it, but like just fighting to get into heads. Like
Yeah.
what's
I actually did a YouTube video on this. One of my biggest niche interests in hockey is enforcers and why
okay?
they do what they do. A little shameless plug right now, but I have a video on
I love
YouTube
it.
about it. And it really is to assert dominance. They want to feel that, oh gosh, I would have to watch the video again and like everything I said, but it really is that. Like it's that primal urge, that survival
Ew.
instinct. During like the 80s or sorry, the 70s and 80s and really the 90s is like when they were really beating each other up, but since the
Mhm.
lockout in 2004, 2005,
Yeah,
one of those years, since then
around
they've
that
changed
time.
they changed the rules when it comes to enforcers because it's not something they're looking for anymore.
Yeah.
So when I see these like really aggressive guys, I'm like, why? Like, we didn't ask for this. You're not actually supposed to be here.
See, and I mean, this is not really, well, it is related. We're talking directly about it, but not
Hmm.
about really anything that we discussed. I'm a psychology major, and it just
Really?
makes me think like maybe you need to address something. There's some sort of deep rooted thing.
I dived into the psychological aspect of it because that's what's so fascinating about it. Is like
I will need to check out this video.
why do you do this? What makes you want to do this? And it has, like I
Crazy.
said, a lot to do with dominance, a way to show off to the other players, like, hey, don't mess with my team.
Yeah.
It's all that primal urge stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm all for getting in the face of somebody who has messed with another player who didn't
Right.
deserve it.
Hmm.
Then, yeah, get on
Yeah,
him.
go ahead.
But
Yeah.
for no good reason, I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But so back to the playoffs then. So I know you made a video. You do like the Stars, but you're
Yeah,
kind
a
of
little
more
bit.
for the
A
Oilers
little
here.
bit. Yeah, just because my dad really likes the Oilers, so I'm
Okay.
like, you know what? We'll root for them, for
Okay.
him. And I like Connor McDavid. I think he's a really fascinating player to watch.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna root for the Oilers here too. And you know what? I'll go Hurricanes also.
Yeah.
That
Let's
would
hope
be
for
nice.
that.
That would be
I was
nice.
wondering, I like to talk to people about this because I think it's like fun and silly. But you know how people talk about the NFL being scripted? Do you
Yes.
think that the NHL gets scripted? Because obviously, watching a 3-0 blowout is not that fun and that interesting. So,
Yes.
could have something happened there?
Now, okay, to a certain extent, yes. But when I think of Canucks games, I think that
Hmm.
they're not even included in the script meeting. They, they don't care about them. So
Yeah,
on that side,
yeah,
I'm like, no, they're not. Like
yeah.
some teams are just
Mm-hmm.
good. But then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I think about back-to-back playoff runs here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a good story. I could
Right.
definitely see that. I've never actually really thought about the NHL being scripted. Is that, or do people think that it is potentially?
I mean, everything is pretty much scripted these
That's
days.
true.
If we look at like NBA
Yeah.
specifically, and then
Yeah.
obviously there's all those rumors circulating about the NFL being scripted.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, It possibly could.
Well, I mean, then it just goes to the conversation like, is it scripted or is the
Hmm.
officiating just not good
Mm.
or is something going on there? Is there a
I know during the
conspiracy? I don't
Montreal
know.
games, that was a huge deal. People kept doing the I'm blind, I'm deaf, I want to be a ref cheer during the games. So I know that during then it was a huge deal. But back to me talking about how I still don't understand all of the rules to the game. I don't
Okay.
understand like why they're upset. Like maybe there just wasn't certain calls. I know that there was a couple of times where for instance, Cole Caulfield and Brendan Gallagher got just pancaked on the floor, and a
Yeah.
lot of people were upset because they weren't called for that,
Mm,
for
mhm.
roughing or tripping or whatever. So
Yeah.
like that's where I kind of understand it, but yeah, maybe the refs are being fishy.
Well, I can think, at least in terms of football, and you know what? Maybe it just might be that like I'm so much more locked in with football than I am with
Hmm.
hockey. And I did
Hmm.
say I used to live in London. I lived there for about a year, and then
Hmm.
like watching hockey was just impossible there. Like it was
Right,
just so
right.
hard with the time difference. So when I moved back home in October, I was like, okay, I'll lock into hockey. I
Hmm.
didn't as much as I would have liked, but
Right.
for football, I definitely know those calls, those like missed calls or whatever,
Hmm.
that makes such a huge difference in the game. Like that can be literally change the game. And I'm
Hmm.
curious if that's the case in hockey as much. I can think
Right.
maybe like momentum wise and it pisses off the players, but sometimes it does it in a good way. It's like you miss that
Yeah.
call, like now I'm mad and then they fire them up a little
Right.
bit, or it's like
Yeah.
they miss the call and then they score. But I'm more on the side of like a missed call that leads to a touchdown or like a call that maybe was incorrect that leads to a
Hmm.
first down, then that completely changes
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think we've hit on pretty well everything that I had and then a bunch
Hmm.
of other stuff that I didn't. But my last question for you, Trinity. Every single
Hmm.
person who comes on the Name One Player podcast, I ask them this question. Obviously, the name of this podcast, Name One Player, was
Hmm.
inspired by men in particular asking women to prove that they like whatever team that they like. And the
Hmm.
most generic thing that has come up time and time again is, well, name one player other than Joe Burrow.
Right, right.
So, have you ever had any instances of anybody asking you to prove that you love the teams that you love?
Yes. So there was this one time, it was right when I started posting on social media, and this guy messaged me and he was just confused. And I'm like, what are we confused about? Like, he didn't approach the conversation and, oh, like, I don't know how he even approached the conversation. It was just weird.
Okay.
And what he said was, "Oh, you must be one of us. You have to be one of us." And I said, "One of us?" He was referring to, I must be a man because there's no way a woman would know any of these things.
That's crazy.
And I hit the unfollow button after that one. And then there was another time in high school when I started. So I actually started getting into football because of fantasy league because I knew kids at
Okay.
school were doing it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. I want to like I
I
want to give
love
it a
that. Okay, I love
shot.
that.
And I love fantasy football. It's so much fun. And I remember when I first started, I was in class and I was trying to ask someone like a question about a player or should I bench this player for this week? Like I need your help. And they ignored me basically. They were like, "Oh, like you don't know what you're talking about, right?" Then, oh, guess what happened? I won 6 weeks in a row in my fantasy league.
That's
Now
good.
they want to know what input I have. Then they were asking me questions. They're asking me questions. I won that year. My first ever year playing fantasy league, I won. And
I
they were just baffled.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel like so many people get into fantasy football like after. So the fact that you kind of
Hmm.
got into it before, I think that's amazing.
Hmm.
And I think fantasy honestly is such a good way to learn
Yeah.
about so many different players and like
Right.
what's going on. But
Hmm.
unfortunately for me, I like get a little too competitive. So
Oh yeah, now I'm like, oh, like I should have put that person in. I should have known better. But yeah, it was just pure luck.
I do. And like just hearing you say this though, I want to
Hmm.
start a fantasy league. I want to
Hmm.
do one with women on TikTok who love football. I feel
That
like
would
that
be
would
so
be a
much
really fun.
fun.
Maybe I'll get that in the works. I'll make a video. something a little bit closer to and be like, who would
Yeah.
be interested in a fantasy football league with me and
Yes.
Trinity? Who wants to do it?
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
Okay, the first one, that's crazy. You must be one
Yeah.
of us. And like, was he like, I don't like, did he think, was he flirting? Like,
Yeah,
was
I think it was something like that, and he just didn't approach it correctly. And I literally was like, yeah, maybe you should try another line next time if this
that's
is how you're gonna
crazy.
try to pick up on girls.
You're one of
But
us.
yeah,
All right, Trinity. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I had
thank
such a great
you.
time bouncing
Me
around from
too.
topic to topic. That's how I like to talk. Honestly, that's how I like to
Yes,
do my episodes. I
yes,
have a breakdown, but I hate sticking to them. So
yeah, yeah. I had so much fun.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Trinity for coming on. I had an absolute blast talking with you. Everyone be sure to check out Trinity on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'll be sure to link all of that in the episode description. Yeah, just yapping away casually about sports. I don't think there's anything better. I truly don't think there's anything better, and it's why I made this podcast. That's it. Like, this was the whole idea, just finding women who love sports and talking about the sports that they love. That's it. It's really so simple. And every single time that I film an episode and we're just casually shooting the shit, if you will, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I also can't wait for September for football to start. Every single time that I talk about football, I get more and more and more excited for football. I keep getting tweets from the Minnesota Vikings, and oh, oh, they're giving us the content. It makes me so happy. I do love summer, and I feel like I need to be more present in the moment in summer. It is summertime almost. Is it summer yet? No, it's not even June. It's not summer yet. It's almost June, actually. It's coming up quick here. But, I gotta soak up the sun. I gotta just live in the moment here. And just know that football will be around the corner. It will be here so soon, but it is summer. I need to soak that in. I actually am about to go edit this podcast on my deck, and it doesn't really get like direct sunlight like hitting me. Like I can't get like a suntan on my deck, but it's so bright. It's so I love it. I love it. I posted a few videos of me like on it recently, and I'm obsessed with my deck. If you ever want to find me, if I'm ever not answering my phone, if you ever like text me or whatever, phone me, usually nobody phones me. That'd be kind of weird if you phone me. Like, the only person that calls me is my mom. If you text me though and I don't answer, I'm either at work or I'm on my deck. And I'm just, I'm like, this is so lame. This is how I know I'm a true adult, because I'm getting excited looking at my deck. I'm in my second bedroom right now and it looks out onto my deck and I can just see it, and it's sunny out there. So I'm gonna wrap this up, you guys, and I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna go type away, edit away, and get this episode out for you guys. I'm so excited for you all to hear it. It might be a lot of editing because me and Trinity, we yapped a lot about things that I don't even know were completely relevant, but I do try my best to keep these episodes to under an hour, so I hope that we can do it. I think we can. All right, everybody. I'm gonna go again, sit on my lovely, glorious deck, and I'm just gonna have a lovely evening. And I hope you all have a lovely evening or lovely day if it's morning time for you. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week. Whatever day you're listening, maybe it's Thursday on the day that this episode came out, or maybe it's later in the week. I don't know. Whatever it is, I hope that you have had a great week, and I hope you have a good next week. I hope every one of your days are just amazing. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna go now. Thank you again for listening. You all mean the absolute world to me. Please be sure to subscribe, follow, like the Name One Player podcast, engage however you would like. It means so much to me, and I truly appreciate it. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. Take care, everybody. Bye.